The year 2022 has been a busy one for Infinix, and we've seen a number of launches from the company. Now, to close things off, Infinix has extended its popular Zero lineup with a couple of fresh launches. While one is the Infinix Zero Ultra, which is a flagship offering with a few really great specs and headlined by a 200 megapixel primary camera, the other is a humbler alternative that kind of keeps the price down. I've been using the Infinix Zero 20 for a week now, and here is my 2-cent opinion in case you are thinking of getting one for yourself. Starting with the design and build quality, the Zero 20 definitely feels a lot more premium than the price might lead you to believe. This one got a nice matte back panel, though exact details about the material used remain unclear, but I'm sure it's not made out of glass because it doesn't feel like one. The company claims that the frame has a metal design, however the frame can easily be mistaken for plastic. Seeing this device for the first time, I liked it, however my initial positive impressive to wane after a few days. It is not so much that the design or build quality is bad, it's just that you can tell it is an affordable phone and it feels quite plastic. The bezels look quite thick and you have a notch for its 60 megapixel selfie camera. While a notch is not the most attractive, I wouldn't hold it against this phone. There is barely any practical difference between a notch and a punch hole. But having a punch hole would have been better and attractive too. I'm not a big fan of squared off edges because they make the phone feel chunky. Considering the thickness is supposed to be just 7.98mm, rounded edges gives phones the illusion of being slimmer than they actually are, and the Zero 20 could have benefited from that concept. The rear panel makes up for that though, with it ever so slight textured finish, just enough to provide an optimal grip and reduce smudges. Our unit here is a glitter gold colorway. It's quite likable and unique with a sort of dual tone matte finish when light reflects on it. Such a beautiful stuff. If you love your phone flashy, then the Zero 20 is for you. Now moving on to the display, you don't get a curved display like the Zero Ultra, but you do get a 6.7 inches AMOLED panel with a 90Hz refresh rate on this one. It's a full HD Plus display and it looks like it belongs in a slightly pricier phone. It crisps and the colors pop even on the default original color setting, and the blacks are deep as expected. If you somehow feel that the output is dull, then you can turn up the saturation with the bright color preset, although that feels unnecessary. Sunlight legibility could have been tad better, but it isn't anything that will make you squint, so no major problems here. The 90Hz OLED display is decent for the price. My Xiaomi 11 Lite 5G NE has a 90Hz display. I don't really understand why people make so much of a fuss about 120Hz being essential. My main gripe with the display isn't with the panel itself, rather it's with one of the features involving it, which is the always-on display feature. It wasn't enabled by default, and when I did enable it, I felt cheated. When you lock the device, this does kick in, but the display doesn't remain always on as it should. It turns off in just 10 seconds. To wake the display up, you'd have to tap it once or lift the device, which really beats the purpose of having an AMOLED. Perhaps a less misleading name for the feature would have been an ambient display. For overtime durability, the display is not certified to be protected by Gorilla Glass of any kind. The phone itself is not water and dust proof, so do have that in mind. It got a side-mounted fingerprint scanner on the power button and is about as accurate and fast as other phones with this style of sensor. Both the power button and the volume rocker are plastic and have a little wiggle to them, making it feel quite cheap. Now moving on to the performance, the MediaTek Helio G99 that powers the device lacks the raw power that the Dimensity series offers, but that shouldn't matter to the average users. Supporting the processor is 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Day-to-day performance is good and more than adequate for all day-to-day tasks. Apps opening, animations and multitasking are pretty smooth. Scrolling performance is also great. Now coming to the gaming aspect, there is a limit to the graphic rendering operations. The Zero 20 seems capable enough in my testing. It isn't going to be playing the most demanding games with the best settings, but it should still play most titles perfectly well. The 4500 mAh battery life is also good enough to get you through a day or two for moderate use. Moving on to the camera department, which is the main selling point of this phone, you are looking at a massive camera bump. On it is a 108 megapixel primary optic, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, and the unimpressive 2 megapixel macro lens. I think Infinix really need to get rid of this particular 2 megapixel for a micro lens in their next smartphone, as it adds nothing to taking good photos on this device. Infinix doesn't reveal which 108 megapixel camera sensor they have used here, but as far as I'm aware, it is just Samsung producing them, and the Samsung ISOCELL HM2 is used on several affordable phones these days. With good lighting, the camera can take superb photos that will easily outclass the camera on many affordable phones. Colors are a little over-exaggerated, but this generally means the more visually impressive photos, which most people will likely prefer. Like most affordable phones, low light performance is not particularly great. As to the 60 megapixel selfie camera, it was indeed made for the selfie obsessed, and if you're among those that loves to take a quick selfies to capture the moment, the Infinix Zero 20 is your device. It's a well-rounded phone overall. While it doesn't have the massive 200 megapixel camera or the 180 watt fast charging of the Zero Ultra, it sure has a better price tag. If you're looking for a well-priced budget smartphone, it's hard to look past the Infinix Zero 20. The only other 60 megapixel front camera device available in the market right now is selling for about $700. So when you look at the value it offers, it definitely has a balanced price tag, and I think Infinix will sell more units of the Zero 20 compared to the Zero Ultra. Some of the downsides, however, are the lack of water and dust proof. The primary camera has no optical image stabilization, and in a world where similarly priced phones are getting 5G connectivity, the Zero 20 is stuck on 4G LTE. And the reason is the choice of the processor in here. The Helio G99 has no 5G connectivity support, hence the lack of 5G on this device. As to the software, it might not get any major software update, so do have this in mind as well. Thanks to you all of my friends for subscribing. It's been an interesting year with you guys. Thanks for watching. See you when next you see me.